Good morning and welcome to the Lakers Lowdown. I'm Anthony Irwin. Today on the show, the Lakers had a very successful weekend. Obviously, they lost in totality to the Golden State Warriors, but while the main players were playing there, the Lakers were clearly the better team on the court. And then yesterday, or if you're listening right now, if you're watching on YouTube right now, the Lakers just lost to Milwaukee, but they did so without LeBron James and against Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard, who was playing his first game there for that organization. And I thought they were competitive throughout that first half while those main characters were in that game. So it's making me wonder as we continue to kind of get more and more impressed by this preseason, if it's time, as we are only a few or a couple games away from the regular season, to rethink some expectations with this team. Let's start with Friday. Friday, the Lakers took on the Golden State Warriors. The final was 129-125 in the Warriors' favor. After the first half, though, and that was where LeBron, I believe LeBron has only played in first halves so far. Hilariously, I believe he walked out. He went back, showered, changed, and watched the rest of the game in street clothes. He played 18 minutes in that first half, and in that time, the Lakers outscored the Golden State Warriors 70 points to 63. Now, the defense, like I said, is always, I think, going to remain an issue here unless the Lakers change some personnel. They just don't really have the horses on that side of the ball to be the kind of defensive juggernaut that we've seen them be over the AD LeBron era, and certainly in comparison to that year that the Lakers won a championship, right? That defense was stellar. This team is not capable of that. But what they are capable of now, and they've done it a couple times over, are those explosions where they drop 70 points against Golden State. Now, Golden State was playing without Draymond Green, I believe, in that one. Yeah, he is still out with his left ankle sprain and will continue to be out, I believe, for a little bit. But he is a huge part of their defense, and they are a very small team, and anybody who is missing on that front line is going to seriously impact what they are able to do, that being the Golden State Warriors. But, seeing as the Lakers were missing Jared Vanderbilt, and seeing as LeBron has been playing every other game, and everybody is still kind of getting acquainted with each other, the fact that the Lakers were able to just go out there and naturally drop 70 points in that first half, right? Same goes for the game against Brooklyn, where you kind of look up and you're like, they scored how many? And it doesn't feel like it's coming in an unsustainable way. In fact, in tonight's game, or yesterday's, by the time you guys are listening to this on the pod feed, Lakers shot pretty cold and still were able to, in that first half, they scored 53 points in the first half against Milwaukee. So, this is a team that I think is going to be able to score regardless of opponent, sometimes regardless of what they're doing from deep. I think in this preseason, there has been a bit of an over-reliance on the three-pointer, but I kind of understand it, where I don't think the Lakers are going to be as focused on attacking the basket in this kind of a setting, especially when they can generate the kind of looks that they can in the offense, in the flow of the offense, and given the shooters that they have. I think, if we were to compare last year or even the last few years to this season, I think the Lakers are going to shoot fewer three-point or free throws this season than they have in years prior, because they are so good at generating open three-pointers, and the guys that you're getting those looks for are so good at shooting them that you're just going to take them. And the Lakers are going to operate a lot in the mid range, and that generally isn't great for your ability to get to the free throw line. But again, like the way that you tweak the math is by shooting and knocking down the amount of three-pointers that the Lakers have been able to. And you do still have LeBron. You do still have Anthony Davis. Both of those guys are going to be getting to the free throw line. You have Austin Reeves, who gets to the free throw line pretty well, especially for his size. Rui Hachimura is a big physical player. He's going to be getting to the line. And the other thing, too, is, and I've said this in the past, and I the response to it is kind of funny because people either really like this explanation or they really don't like it. But when the Lakers are as jumbled as they have been in years prior because of the lack of spacing, I think refs let some contact go because everybody is just so close together that you are going to kind of bump into each other. You are going to be bumping into help side defense. And because the referees, can't necessarily identify who is doing the fouling, or B, don't think that there is any kind of contact that is out of the norm, they are a little more hesitant to call fouls. But with this kind of spacing that the Lakers are able to force upon teams, those fouls are going to be a lot more clear in terms of just raw vision from the referees. They'll know who committed the foul. They will be able to identify contact more easily because it will be happening in much more space, and it'll have a much greater and more obvious impact on the play than in years prior. So that might help a little bit with the free throw shooting. But yeah, just kind of staying macro this weekend and all preseason to this point, the Lakers just continually kind of force us and force me to, and you guys know this, I was pretty optimistic coming into the season. I do think they're going to, the night by night schedule is still going to be very difficult because the Lakers play in this loaded Western Conference. I don't know if any of you have checked out any of the Spurs games, and they're probably going to be the worst team in the conference. But Wemby is doing just insane things, and that is not going to be an easy matchup. And as easy as you would like the worst team in the conference to be. Maybe Portland is worse than they are, but they have quite a few professional basketball players on their roster, and that is not going to be a super easy game either. So wins are still going to be tough to come by, but given the way that the Lakers can score, and given the way that they are learning to really compete together and they are really forming that identity together, I do think that it might be time to kind of say, like, heading into this, I think the over-under was 48.5, and I've been thinking under for much of the offseason coming into this, and yet, like, because of what I've seen from the preseason, I do really think that this is probably a 50 to 52-ish win team when you just look at what they can do with LeBron and AD, and then what they've been able to do without LeBron. Like, it's been really kind of fascinating to watch this team execute the way that they have, even without the guy who is supposed to be the engine and rudder of the offense. So yeah, a lot to like from this weekend on a macro level. Now let's kind of zoom in on some things from each specific game. Gonna stay in the Warriors game here, and again, the 3-point shooting, they shot 16 of 36. That's a 44% clip that they hit those at. They shot 50.1, basically 51% from the field in that one. And the standout to me, even though I just talked about offense, the standout performer from that one was D'Angelo Russell because of the way he was competing defensively. And I know that I keep on coming back to this guy, and I know that this has been a topic that I've been really hitting on, but man, good Lord, watching him compete, not just on the ball defense is where just about everybody tends to compete. Like even Russell Westbrook, for all of the issues that I had with him as a player, if he was guarding the other a player that he respected, and that player was in isolation with him, he was very good in that spot, because the spotlight is on you there, and you don't want to embarrass yourself in that spot. So D'Angelo Russell is, I think, kind of very much the same in that regard, that in that spot, he's not going to allow himself to get straight embarrassed. But where your habits tend to jump up and bite you is when you are off the ball and your guy back cuts, and or it's a player that you don't respect as much, or is a relatively new player to the league or something like that, and you leave that player wide open from three a bunch, or you ball watch a little too much, and even if that player doesn't beat you with the actual back cut in a way that punishes you with a pass, that player sneaks in and is able to get an offensive rebound or something off of you. But D'Angelo Russell has been very focused on or off the ball, no matter who he is guarding, and has really been utilizing his length to affect passing lanes and affect shots and stuff like that. And he also mentioned that he was really kind of focused on the type of defense that Derek White plays, and how that positionality is something he's really focusing on, and it's really paying dividends in a very clear way. That if you just watch him and do this sometime, go back, rewatch a game, and just focus on him defensively, and it really stands out the kinds of habits that he's really trying to form here. And maybe it just so happens that no matter what the guy tries to do, he is not a playoff player. But without doing this stuff, we know what that looks like, right? We have now seen that movie play out a few times over in various circumstances. But with him focusing on these habits, with him really trying to show that he is improving and showing that he is really focused on that end of the ball, or end of the court, side of the ball, whatever you want to say. Yeah, that's very exciting, and it showed in the Warriors game, especially given the types of players that he had to defend, but then also in the Milwaukee game against another team that is just very explosive offensively. The other one that I wanted to highlight here, and it's like a combination of macro and micro, but Austin Reeves has been on the same kind of program as LeBron James. Austin is coming back from Team USA play, and they're trying to let him kind of rest up while keeping the rust off in the preseason. But when the Lakers have gone with that starting group of D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Taurean Prince, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, man, that is a very difficult team to try to defend. And Taurean Prince fits in perfectly as that short window type player who either catches and shoots, or catches and quickly attacks a closeout. He is solid enough defensively that, and given D'Angelo Russell's solid play defensively, that team is not an outright disaster on that side. It also helps to have Anthony Davis, who, again, for my money, is the best defensive presence in the NBA. But yeah, that is a group that, given Jared Vanderbilt's injuries, I would have thought maybe had he gotten a few more reps that he would be the opening night starter. It doesn't appear that is going to be the case. Given what we've seen from Rui, where he still seems to be more comfortable operating with bigger windows on the ball, I do kind of think that Taurean Prince appears to have a real leg up in the race to be that fifth starter. And, Aaron has been on this train quite a bit. A lot of really smart people beyond him have been on this train, hoping to see Taurean Prince as the opening night and kind of starter moving forward. I know that I was at one point saying that Jared Vanderbilt makes some sense as your starter there, so that he can start right away on the other team's best player. But I do think there are ways, given the amount of minutes that the other team's best perimeter player tends to play, there's a way to get him into that 15 to 18 to 20 minute range where you can still disrupt that player. And Rui, I think, is really well situated to be the centerpiece offensively for the second unit. And then the more that he, acclimates in playing clutch minutes with that final group, the more comfortable he can become at fulfilling both of those roles. Where with the second group, he has plenty of time on the ball, he gets ISO touches and all of that stuff, and that's what I think really prefers to do most on a basketball court. But then by getting more minutes over the course of an 82-game season in clutch minutes, he can also function with the starting group in closing minutes when the time calls for it. And I think ideally, slowly but surely, Rui figures out how to operate in smaller windows, and maybe by the end of the season is your fifth starter with that group. Because of those three players, there's no question Rui is your most talented player there. There's a reason he got the payday that he got this year, especially in comparison to Taurean Prince's contract that he signed and in comparison to the Jared Vanderbilt extension that was signed. Rui is very much a cornerstone of this organization moving forward, and I think they would like to see him start, but I don't know if he is necessarily that player quite yet. We will see, I guess, over the course of the season if he's able to become that player. But for right now, I do think Taurean Prince should be your starter on opening night. Let's look at the Milwaukee game. Again, this is kind of a weird game on both sides, right? Because obviously the Lakers were playing without Austin Reeves and without LeBron James and Jared Vanderbilt. And then for Milwaukee, they were playing with Giannis Antetokounmpo and with Damian Lillard. Both of those guys played together for the first time there in Milwaukee. So it's kind of weird rhythm on both sides of this thing. Still thought both teams competed. Like I saw John Hollinger say that this felt like a summer league game with better players. I don't know. I mean, I guess I can kind of see it because the rhythm was kind of iffy, but I never thought that the effort was missing in this one. But still, the Lakers, they scored their 53 points and were outscored in the first half by, Milwaukee scored 56. But, I thought they were very competitive every step of the way. Milwaukee is going to be very good when they do, kind of put together some rhythm. I really don't know what you do with Dame Giannis pick and rolls. That is a terrifying set to see now, like in actuality. And it was already a scary theory, and then you see it in practice, and you're like, glad we only see them twice. But yeah, I thought that the Lakers acquitted themselves very well here. I thought Anthony Davis was probably the best player on the court in that game, even given the other players that he was on the court with and playing against. He finished the game with 16 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, all in 19 minutes. So, he and I've said this, excuse me. I've said this now a couple times that Anthony Davis has been kind of thinking he was going to be the playing a little bit less center this year, and I thought kind of slimmed down, thinking that he would be spending some more time at power forward and regained a more natural kind of body for himself, and has, as a result of that, looked much more explosive on both sides of the court. So whether it happened by accident or whatever, I don't care. And then Aaron also has pointed out that he was a lot healthier going into the offseason than in years past, and that's also going to play a role in this. But I don't care. Whatever combination of reasons that we arrived here, AD looks thin. He looks, chiseled, and he looks ready to really go in ways that we see closer to like the AD who first showed up, albeit 4 years ago. I don't think he's ever going to be that kind of an athlete again, but he's 30. He's in his prime. He should still be, we shouldn't have to worry about him looking kind of sluggish in the same way that we have the last couple of years. So that has been great to see. And this team, again, we keep on finding new reasons to raise that bar, raise those expectations. D'Angelo Russell's play, what they've looked like offensively when LeBron has been out there, but nothing whatsoever raises their ceiling and their floor more than the most effective version that Anthony Davis can possibly be. All right, I'm going to now move on to some questions and comments. So if you have any and you're listening here or watching live on YouTube, which I hope everybody is subscribed to, we've really seen an uptick in subscriptions. So shouts to everybody who is doing that. Again, that is youtube.com/@LakersLounge, where you can find us and subscribe and watch these shows and clips from them in a variety of ways. And then also when we are live here and you leave questions and comments, I can more quickly see them than if you're watching on a different platform. But the best way to get your question or comment heard on the show is to leave it in the form of a 5-star review. I am there now. And the first question I see, the only question I see this week, is from LA240825. Hey, Anthony, love the show and been following for a while now, but I was thinking the other day, have we fallen back into a big man-dominated era? I just thought about the 4 main bigs, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, and AD, and how each one of them can dominate in their own way. Thanks and keep up the work you do. Man, you can go beyond that top tier of bigs, right? Giannis kind of plays like a pseudo center sometimes, so like he belongs in that group, obviously. But even you even look at guys like Kristaps Porzingis. He has looked very good for Boston. You have Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, and they are jokes kind of in their own way, but they are super talented in at what it is that they do. Right, Karl Anthony Towns might be the best shooting just center that I have ever seen. Rudy Gobert is absolutely special defensively. That cannot be debated, even though his issues offensively make him kind of a liability in playoff settings. I do really think that we're going to get a better version of DeAndre Ayton now that he is not in Phoenix anymore. So I'm really watching for that. And you could just kind of go throughout the league and on any given night, for a long time, there were good bigs, right? I don't think we've ever watched an NBA where there wasn't at least a handful of really, really good bigs, talented bigs. The difference, though, now to me is that basically on any given night, there are not very many just stiffs in the league, right? There are no Todd McCullochs, there just aren't very many of those guys that are playing significant roles on teams because the Todd McCullochs of the world and other, who else? Who else? I mean, the Nets had 3 of them, but essentially those kinds of players, if you have that kind of a player on your team, you're just better off playing a power forward at center and just going small and getting more talent onto the court that way. So those kinds of players have basically gone extinct. And as a result, any given night, you could look at the starting center on the other team and you're like, damn, he doesn't suck. He's probably good at least something. And then, teams are so creative that, just the big, stiff, 6-foul white guys, those guys just aren't there anymore. Those guys who used to exist basically to foul Shaq a bunch, those guys aren't there. And at the very, very top of the league, Jokic is completely unique. We've never seen that guy before. Never. Joel Embiid is an absolute force. You just can't, when he really has it going, you can't guard that guy without sending 2 or 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. We are in this really cool era of bigs. And you would think that it would be the kind of thing that former players would really like, right? The kind of guys who grew up where the analysts always said, pound the ball inside and go in there and dominate with physicality and stuff like that. You would think that more former players would note this, but they don't, because occasionally Joel Embiid does step out and hit 3-pointers. And it's kind of insane that somebody can dominate on the inside the way that Embiid can, and then also step out and be a very good 3-point shooter. Nikola Jokic is just unguardable in the mid post, and the closer that he gets to the basket, and then he steps out and shoots these 1-footed fall away threes that you ask anybody in Denver, when he shoots them, they expect them to, like, if not go in, certainly get close. And given the release and the arc and everything that you see on that, that should not be the expectation there. But these guys are just effing good. And just like with everything else in the world, evolution makes things better. And we have seen an evolution of the sport, and we have seen an evolution of the big man. And in this case, the evolution of the big man has led to some absolute freaks. Most notably, that dude playing in San Antonio who's going to be wrecking the league for the next, 20 years. All right, I am going to look at the YouTube comments here to see if we have any questions, and then probably call it a night. And let everybody. I have a fun guest for you guys who are listening on the feed, who will be live here, I would imagine, within a few hours. Whenever you guys are listening, I do have a question here from George Santiago. Are you concerned that this offense is not as AD centric? This trend started after the deadline this year or last year. All right, man, concerned. There's nothing about this offense that I'm concerned about. This offense is going to be special. They might not score in ways that we are used to, and they are going to shoot more 3-pointers than we have probably ever seen that we are confident about going in. Those D'Antoni teams, they got those shots up, but they were from the Earl Clarks of the world, and they were getting them up simply because D'Antoni recognized that is a way that the Lakers could kind of take advantage of some math and get out ahead of that and be more competitive as a result. But in this case, ball is rotating around to Taurean Prince, ball is rotating around to Gabe Vincent, ball is rotating around to D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves. Those kinds of guys. Even Rui is somebody who, when he shoots it, I expect it to if not go in, it's a good look almost always when he's open from 3. Anthony Davis's shooting looks night and day in almost every way imaginable. Maybe at some point I'll do a breakdown of his release and his footwork going into it that really kind of highlights the things that I'm looking for that really show, man, he's a different shooter right now. And LeBron James, he's just, last year was a complete outlier year in terms of the type of shooter that he was, and I just don't think that that's going to be the case here again. And yeah, it's going to be a very different offense than we have ever seen as a Laker fan base, and it's going to be no part of that I think is particularly concerning to me. That said, as it pertains to AD specifically, the game against the Warriors, it opened up where I think neither team shot a free throw for 5 minutes to open the game, and it's very much a preseason stat. But one thing that did kind of stick out, and again, it's not something I'm concerned about. I think it's something that'll be addressed over the course of the season. But when the Lakers realized, oh shit, AD hasn't touched the ball yet, they basically just threw the ball to LeBron, who dribbled it up the left side, passed the ball over to AD, who was in the pinch post area, and then LeBron kind of wandered away, and you had AD on an island, which fine, because of the amount of spacing that the Lakers had on the court, it's nice to see that a trap didn't come immediately. But I would like to see, if you're getting AD involved in the offense, a little bit more creativity than dribble, pass in, everybody stare, and there was no backside movement from going on the weak side over there. There was no pinch screen, there was no back cuts, there was no nothing that was really kind of going on. And I would like to see that change. So if you're asking about and the other thing too, to also more specifically answer George's that's a tough word to say, George's question. I also think that the offense looks less AD centric right now because I don't think the Lakers want AD setting a whole bunch of screens and rolling to the basket in ways that he will be in the regular season, because that's how you just step on a random foot, and that's how you just tweak a back or something like that. I think the Lakers are probably, if you were to kind of list the most vanilla aspects of their offense right now, I think most of them, compared to what we'll see in the regular season, have to do with AD. I think they're running the most vanilla stuff right now for him, just to make sure that he is 100% at the very beginning of the regular season and stays like that for as long as he possibly can. Overall, this offense is going to be so good that if you were to ask me what am I stressing out about with this team on that side, nothing. All right. As you guys can hear, I'm still kind of getting over this stupid cold that Avery keeps bringing home. Really nice of her and everybody with kids, especially this time of year where kids are back in school and the weather is like some days it's hot and some days it's cold. It's just nonstop. So gonna save my voice for now. Have a really fun guest coming tomorrow on to the show. Somebody who has been here before, somebody I love recording with. And I will go ahead and throw to that for those of you who are listening on the pod feed. Again, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe everywhere that you get pods, and leave those 5-star reviews, and leave those questions there in the form of a 5-star review, and I promise I will get to them there. So until then, and until the next time I talk to you guys, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day, make somebody else's, and I will talk to you mañana.